Well, hello, family, and welcome to this week's episode of Family Talk. This is Miss Joyce, and this is the place where I share ideas and suggestions for ways that you can continue the conversation at home about this week's Bible story. Well, we are celebrating the resurrection of Jesus, and it's the most important event in all of Christendom. Jesus' resurrection gives true joy to believers, and because he's alive, we have hope for eternity and joy on earth right now. Our story this week can be found in Matthew 26 through 28 and John chapter 20. You can find those books in the New Testament. What we've learned thus far is that Jesus has been teaching and healing the sick for about 3 years. And during this time, the religious leaders wanted to find a way to kill him. Rather than believing that Jesus was the long awaited Messiah, they saw him as a threat to their own power. So they plotted with one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, to have him arrested. And Jesus, knowing that his time was drawing near, went to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. And there is where he was arrested and hauled off to be taken to trial, crucified. And the third day, the good news is that he rose from the dead. Thus has been our celebration. The questions for this week are: 1, why did Jesus rise from the dead? 2, what does Jesus' resurrection teach us about his identity? Or 3, how do you feel when you think about Jesus' resurrection? Some activities for this week is to memorize John chapter 3, verse 16. That's the passage that says that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believed in him should not perish, but would have everlasting life. Challenge one another to memorize that. Make up hand motions or gestures to help you do so. Another thing you could do, parents, is to provide your children with pencils, papers, markers, or crayons and ask them to think deeply about the questions that you're about to ask and to draw pictures to represent their feelings. Those questions would be: 1, how do you feel about your sin? 2, how do you think God feels about your sin? 3, how do you feel when you think about Jesus taking your punishment? And 4, how do you feel knowing that Jesus rose from the dead? You can follow up these questions with a conversation by asking them if they have decided to follow Jesus and to share why they have or have not. A resource to help is on our Greenhouse web page, and it's called God's Plan for Us. And you can use that to help you share the gospel with your children and the response that they can have as a result of believing. Another activity is around the dinner table. Why not share your journey? Share who led you to Christ or first told you about him, when that happened, how old were you, or what was going on in your life. 3, how your life has changed as a result of having faith in what Jesus done. Some other topics that you can come up with some questions perhaps would be to focus on the sacrifices that were made. God giving his only begotten Son, Jesus giving his life. Or take it from another direction and talk about the love that was demonstrated by God for the world, or by Jesus for the people. Well, you can also talk about telling others. Who would you share this good news with, and how would you do it? Another fun topic also is to even focus on the miracle of the resurrection. Well, that's it for this week. We'll be returning to our unit that we just started in the Gospel Project, where God is restoring his people, and we'll focus on King Nebuchadnezzar. Again, that's the king who ate grass. We hope you'll join us next week and have a wonderful, blessed week. Bye for now.